Hey everybody, Opeb here, back with more AYN Thor and Ayaneo Pocket DS, like promised. Before I do get into any of this, I do just want to maybe shoot myself in the foot a little bit here and just mention that there is a Retro Game Core video already out, kind of comparing these two. He gets a lot more technical than I can and kind of am really interested in doing, so definitely check out his channel if you're more interested in like getting real granular with that sort of stuff. I made sure not to watch his video yet, even though I'm a big fan, just because I want to see if I can bring kind of a unique perspective here, kind of from like a layman player who's casually been using both of these devices for fun. So I'm going to go over, I'll probably slap him up on the screen, but there's going to be a few different things that I want to cover. First off is going to be the dual screen navigation, specifically on the bottom for both these devices. Second, I want to cover some of like the physical hotkeys and some of the issues that come up with those, as well as like some of the good things that come out of that. Three, I want to talk about just like home apps at the moment. I touched on this a little bit in the other video, but there's a kind of the matter of with some apps on these for the Thor causing the issue currently while they work perfectly fine on the Pocket DS. Talking about the Syncthing for the Thor versus the Pocket DS, and kind of just if you've had the other devices, this is actually an AYN versus an Ayaneo thing with the Syncthing. Next, I want to talk about the Artemis game streaming and specifically just the enjoyment that you might get for bigger, kind of big name PC games on a 6-inch screen versus a 7-inch screen and some of the differences that come up with that. We'll also talk a little bit about Gamehub, even though that's not really my big thing there. I'll talk about just and I do want to preface, these are going to be very subjective in terms of the hinge. That's just my opinion with how they feel. The light bleed and the image retention, so light bleed specifically for the Pocket DS, image retention specifically for the Thor. I'm going to talk a little bit about the comfort in the hands, so just like comfortability using both of the devices, and then general controls, so the way that I kind of feel, with the buttons and the stick and the D-pad on here, button, stick, D-pad on here, triggers, access, bumpers, all the things like that. Just generally how I feel playing different games on the devices, and we'll also do like a little bit of testing in terms of like what we can do on there, because I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I can do like a couple difficult things, some harder games, so maybe try and show that off a little bit, show you guys like, hey, it can be possible, or hey, what might be a little difficult on there. But yeah, anyway, I'll get that started here. Thank you. Okay, so primarily here, we're actually going to begin this with the Thor for the dual screen comparison. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is actually apps on the Thor can be freely moved from top to bottom and bottom to top without causing a crash and without causing a restart. But they do introduce some letterboxing, so I'll go ahead and just show you guys that real quick. There's going to be, we'll put Blue Archive on the bottom, and then I'll go ahead and open Stellasora on the top. So you're going to see there's letterboxing here on the bottom. This is because it's a widescreen game on a... oh, actually, it's not a 4:3. I'm sorry. It's like almost a 1:1 bottom screen. And then we have the widescreen up top, right? But if you were to go ahead and... the way that you do this, actually, and this is something I'm glad I caught because I was about to accidentally give misinfo regarding this. For the bottom... sometimes it might feel like, oh wait, I can't switch the bottom, there's no way for me to go and like change that. What you actually got to do is stay on it, tap the bottom, and then hit your home button on this side. That'll allow you to take this part down. And then what you want to do from here is actually take the app that you're using up top and go ahead and navigate to it, Stellasora. So you see, this one kind of interacts a little funky. It pushes it in a really, really tiny spot there because you see it's trying to do the 16:9. So like everything is visible, it's just extremely, extremely tiny. And on here it'll say like tap to restart this app for a better view. That applies for the top as well. So for example, if we take an app that was already open on the bottom and we go to Blue Archive, now Blue Archive is perfectly fine up top. So no issues there. But if you were to go ahead and close Stellasora again, and then transition back to Blue Archive, that's when it goes back into letterboxed mode. And then if we do it kind of vice versa here, we'll do, say, Stellasora on the bottom, where it actually does take up the full screen because it's not bugging out on there. You see, it's well, maybe I shouldn't say full screen, but it actually has a aspect ratio accounting for, I don't know if this is exactly 4:3, but you see it's not doing the whole 1:1. It kind of finds its middle ground in there to do that. And then if you were to go ahead and move it up to the top, you see now how it's still 4:3, but now you have these sideways letterboxing. So going from top to bottom, you're going to introduce letterboxing like that. Going from bottom to top, you're going to introduce letterboxing like that. So just that's something to be aware of, but it is something that you can do smoothly without actually causing crashes. So that's something I think is really nice with the Thor. Now on the Pocket DS, the thing with this one is you are going to run into some crashes. So let's just get that. Oh goodness, it's bright. So you are going to have something. Maybe I shouldn't say crashes. It might be more accurate to call it a restart, but it is something that you need to be aware of. So, for example, we have a game, Arknights, and I'll just do Archaea up top. Two apps like that. So we have these games here, and let me turn that down. I'm so sorry. So, for example, if you're going to have Arknights on this side. And one of the things, both systems, I should say, they're really good with RAM. Like you can trying to think of the right word for this. You can go ahead and actually have it like minimize and change the app. Say I'm gonna go to open. I don't know. What's something we can open? Open up Retroarch on the bottom. Have that go in there. Have this game up top, and then you can go ahead and switch back by doing task. Go back to this one. That's going to stay perfectly fine. You're going to keep your window the same size. You're not going to have any issues there. But if you were to change up top and try to go to Arknights, that's actually going to crash the game. You're going to notice that's going to cause a full restart. It does not give you a choice like the Thor does. It's going to basically say, hey, you are not allowed to use this in like an incorrect size. We are going to fully restart the app. So that's something to be aware of if you're playing something that is kind of sensitive. Like say you're in the middle of a fight and you wanted to switch the screen because you want to change a video, that's going to mess you up on here. Don't do that. If you're on RetroArch and you forgot to save state, forgot to save your game, don't do that. You will lose your progress. I've tested it with multiple apps. I haven't been able to find any exceptions. As far as I can tell, that's just the reality. Like you can't do that, unfortunately. So just be very careful about that. It is going to force it to crash either way. And like I'll try and show you guys another example here. We have Arknights. Try and move it back to the bottom and then check your tasks. You see, it's no longer open, so you're gonna have to fully restart it, like if that makes sense. That's something to just be aware of with the Pocket DS specifically, as far as changing from top to bottom, bottom to top. You're not going to be able to maintain the active process, but in terms of maintaining the process without killing it, that's something that both devices do very well. Like they have plenty of RAM, especially if you're on the 12 or above, for Android apps, for your emulators to be able to keep them open. You can go on sleep mode. You generally won't crash. You may find a few exceptions here and there. I know, like, I think I had RetroArch crash on me once, but, like, Eden and a lot of these games, sleep mode, walk away for a couple hours, come back, didn't lose that much battery life, you'll be fine. Those are all great. So that's just a section I wanted to touch on there with the dual screen navigation. So hopefully that can, it's a little niche in terms of when it may come up, but depending on how you get comfortable using these devices, the Thor may work out a little better for you with that. I know for my personal use it does, just because I really hate that option of like, or that situation of like moving something, because I move them often, especially when I'm running through like my dailies and stuff. I know that sounds pathetic, but if you're doing your dailies on the two screens, you're like, oh shoot, I gotta switch this so I can play it on the other one, and then it crashes. You're like, oh crap, I gotta redo the whole thing. So just something to be aware of there. But yeah, we'll get on the next section. Alright guys, so this next section, it might be a little bit difficult to visualize, but I'll try and explain it as well as I can here. There is an option in both of the systems, the Thor and the Pocket DS, for changing your screen lock. So for example, with the auto lock, this will prevent, for example, you tap at the bottom, and then this will allow it to use your controls. and then you tap up here and it'll use your controls again. You can prevent it from swapping those if you use your screen lock. So the expected behavior, right, is you're going to tap on the bottom. If you use back, it'll actually bring up that menu with back. And the expected is if you tap up top and hit back, it'll do that. Now, if you're really good at memorizing that and you don't think you're going to accidentally touch, because this is a concern that I see a lot of people have with these glass fronts, you know, you may accidentally hit this, especially with the D-pad, you're going to be very close proximity. That could cause you to switch and be controlling the bottom suddenly. So if you do change over to the top lock, one of the differences between the Thor and the Pocket DS is that actually the screen lock does not prevent it from changing on the bottom. And the reason why they do that is because of what we went over earlier. This portion is required to be able to navigate around. So it's not like a huge deal, but that is something that's going to kind of come into play where you're going to need to make sure you remember that. So like if you're up here but you accidentally touch this with your D-pad, don't be too surprised when you accidentally hit back and then it does that instead of opening. For example, like I like to use the Retroarch menu on there, it'll do that. But if you're using the Pocket DS, this one, and what I'll do real quick for just showing this off, we have a PPSSPP up top and another SX2 on the bottom. Both of these I have mapped to do the menu with the back button, which we actually have, I'll go over those after I close this up, but this one, just to show you, we have it on automatic switch, so this will function in the same way where if you tap this side, goes into another SX2 menu, tap the top, goes into PPSSPP with the back button. But if you go on to screen lock, so for example you lock it only to the home screen, tap, 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 hit back, you can't do it. That is something that I do think Pocket DS has in its favor. I'm not sure if they'll add that as a firmware feature for the Thor, perhaps. They might have a better way to work around with that. But this one does play into how the Thor is like slightly better at messing around with switching apps on the bottom. So if that kind of makes sense, like doing the task and then maybe opening up like Azahar and then saying, oh, okay, well, I have Azahar open, but I don't actually want to use Azahar. Let's go back to another SX2. That'll work fine. No issues with that. But of course, just keep in mind the thing I mentioned about switching from bottom to top, top to bottom. That can cause a crash. Both systems can do I guess you could call it horizontal switching without any issues. And then they have the screen locking where that'll actually maintain for you. So if you do that, and then also just to show you, just for proof, you can lock the secondary screen. Tap, tap, tap up top, playing around, moving the buttons around. Hit back, opens the bottom. So that's something the Pocket DS does do better. I will give it that. Good for that. Oh my gosh, and I almost forgot, sorry guys. There is one other thing to mention with the Pocket DS. If you actually have it on that lock to the top, one of the ways that you can do this, and actually the other way around as well, even if the back button is locked, because it locks your physical buttons, which I think is really nice, if you are doing the touchscreen back though, gesture, that'll still function. So no issues with that. If you do have a preference to do it that way, that function will never mess up. Like that will stay on both, kind of like on the Thor, which can also do the gesture method. But this way you can lock the physical buttons to only be the one you prefer, so you're never caught off guard with like surprises and things like that. Hopefully that makes sense. Sorry, I just realized like as I was putting it away, I wrote that. And lastly, a hotkey comparison. So I know that some people might think it's a little overdone nowadays, that, you know, all these back buttons, some people aren't really into that on like your Steam Deck or your like 8BitDo controllers or different things like that. But the Thor keeps it pretty simple in terms of hotkeys. They have just this home, which would do home for whichever screen you're selecting. I also have the Keymapper app, which I can recommend actually if you guys prefer more functions, because I do like to have a lot of physical functions. I kind of hate touching a screen if I'm on an actual handheld, if that makes sense. Like I only want to touch it if I want to be doing it like with a stylus for DS games and things like that, on this thing anyway. But you know, you do have those ways of going around with the touchscreen and things like that. I just don't want to get it all smudged. But you have that home, and then you have your back. So I have it bound to do double tap, bring me into Open Recents, which is like Task Manager, as they call it on here, or on the Pocket DS Task section. And then you have the long press. I have that for screenshots, just to do it like that. If you put it on the back button, that'll prevent it from being mapped as a home or I should say, if you do a long press on the back button, that'll prevent it from functioning in Retroarch specifically. So I would advise against that if you guys are going to use this Keymapper app. Just a little tip with that. But these ones, as far as the back, I just have it set to normal back, and you can use that, for any hotkeys. Like up on these, you can have it function like that, or if you're doing it on an app, it just does regular Android back. So very, very light on hotkeys. But then they have this AYN button in the middle there. That one really does a lot of the heavy lifting for all these other functions. So you have a lot of stuff that you won't need to go up top to do unless you really want to. You can drag down and do things like that. Those sorts of things. Swap around there. But the Pocket DS, you're actually kind of overloaded with hotkeys, so no back ones like this. Oh, it is getting a little smudgy. But you do have your LC and RC, which are pretty iconic for Ayaneo devices now. They have that a lot with like the Pocket Ace and some of their other devices, where you'll have those additional hotkeys. They have them by default mapped to back, and actually one of the new things, because I don't think they did this with their other devices, as far as I knew anyway. I know it wasn't on the Ace, but the LC is actually your task manager. So that is super convenient, and that's actually something I mapped myself on the Ace just to get that going. Like being able to do that and just go into Task Manager, very, very helpful. But they also have these mappings on here. There's the AYN one specifically, so this will bring up your main function menu here if you're in a different app. They also have this one. I remapped it. I actually made it Task Manager just because I do play this thing laying down a lot. Not me laying down, but laying it down on a desk. So I often have trouble reaching that back LC button. So just having another one on the front, very handy. And then we also have the functions on here. These are your volume and your power, so those aren't really hotkeys. But then on this side, we actually have all hotkeys again. But I did remap this one. This was turbo. I'm not a big fan of turbo, so I actually, just because if you accidentally hit this and it changes into a different mode, it's kind of annoying. So I remapped it to be screenshot, which unfortunately does have a slight issue. If you guys look in that corner there, if your brightness is low, let's do this, screenshot. You see how it's pitch black? And then if you take a screenshot at full brightness, oh, you actually might have even caught it down there, it didn't go away, then it's properly visible. I don't know what's up with that. I've never seen that on any Android device. I don't know if they'll be able to fix that. It's just kind of funky. Not the end of the world, but just something to be aware of. If you're going to screenshot something to show your friends, turn your brightness all the way up, or like one notch under, I think will also work. Yeah, but you see it's like already doling out. It might be kind of hard to tell there, but yeah, it has some weird software bug with that. I don't know if anybody will fix that up. Who knows? But yeah, and then those are the remaining ones, because this just starts select, and then L3, R3, things like that. So you have a lot of extra buttons at your disposal to change around as you please, and you can actually do that in the IF settings menu. They'll have these functions for custom. Not custom, controller, and then custom keys, and this will let you switch these around, so you can do short presses, long presses, double taps. It's a lot like that Keymapper app I have on the Thor, but just like built in and already handled by Ayaneo. It does get a little buggy though. I will admit, the functionality for specifically Retroarch, it does unfortunately have that issue that I mentioned with the Pocket Ace. So this one might be a little hard to convey. I'm going to try my best to explain it to you guys. But basically, you see how I'm doing, it picks up the controller normally, that's all fine and dandy. But then the moment you go in to do a hotkey, so for example, we're going to try the RC button behind the trigger. That one won't work. You see that? It brings up virtual 00 not configured. And now it's impossible to map it. And I struggled as much as I could to figure this out. If anybody could tell me, I would love to know, because when you're playing these, I want to be able to have a hotkey to open the thing. I want to have a hotkey to do fast forward, hotkey for rewind if I'm playing certain games. Different things like that. Like, you have the power to do that, so you should be able to map it without having to constantly jump into the menu and things like that. And just for whatever reason, it does not play nice with that. Same thing for these others. I mean, obviously they wouldn't work because they're for the processes. Same thing here. Just causes a lot of issues. I don't even know if you can do screenshot as a... Yeah, screenshot wouldn't work. So, like, I did figure out a way on the Ace. I brute forced it where I was doing keyboard keys over time, and I took out all the keyboard mappings But the reason why I didn't try it again here is because eventually I lost confidence that that would even function. Like, you do have the way to do select physical keyboard virtual, and then it'll know, oh, virtual is a keyboard, let's answer letter keys. But what it'll do is it'll only accept input from that when you first start up the thing, and if you try to use your controller afterwards, you'll actually lock up your controls. So let me see if I can show you guys that. It is kind of sad. Oh wait, we're already in Daiji. What am I doing? For example, let's launch Sakura Wars, and I'm not gonna hit anything, right? I'm gonna hit a hotkey. You see how it says virtual not configured? Now when I hit my buttons, Ayaneo controller not configured, and if it is the way it was before, I won't even be able to play. It's gonna lock up on me because I accidentally hit a hotkey first when it does not recognize hotkeys. Yeah, you guys seeing that? I got nothing here. I cannot proceed. And that really sucks, because on everything else, like you guys saw with the PSP, PCSX2, standalone emulators play real nice with the Pocket DS. But Retroarch really does not like how Ayaneo handles its secondary hotkey, so just be aware of that. That'll cause issues for you. But you know, if you're playing like, you know, we were just on PSP, like over here. Let me show that real quick. But if you're on PSP and you I need to browse it again. Start like that. Oh, I guess maybe I should do it from Daiji. But for example, we start here and you just hit a thing. You're already good. Like you're set, and we can. I think I actually don't have these mapped. I'm sorry. Let's auto configure. Oh, virtual. No, don't do virtual. Auto configure for the Ayaneo controller. There we go. And then from here, it should actually let us like, you know, control it as well, even though we started with that. It should. Anyway, let's see. Yeah. Okay. So like that functions. Like you guys see that? This will be fine. So just to bring that up and keep that in mind with these two devices. Okay, third segment here. So the home apps. So on the Thor, I always had to use these separately. It is really unfortunate, but they do break. I'll try and showcase that real quick. I know I mentioned this actually on the other video, but if you change your default app for your home to be, for example, Daiji Show, that will actually break everything. You see, I can't. Well, hang on. I'll clear these out. Daiji Show always. And from this point onward. Oh. Wait, is it good? Hang on, did it fix itself? It's a known issue actually. I saw that the AYN spokesperson said that they're going to be getting this fixed up. But basically, you won't be able to use the Daiji Show unless I got lucky. I saw one person who said this isn't an issue, but basically what it would do is it prevents you from using the task manager. But it looks like it's functioning, so I must have lucked out this time. But it was like in the other video that I showed. We're lucky. Maybe I'll just keep that, because I prefer Daiji Show. You can launch straight into games, and then keep your widgets, set it up how you like to keep it pleasant, and then go into your apps from here. And I find that just really nice. Some people like ESD would break. Unless I got lucky like that, and then it would be good. But they said they're going to be working on fixing that, so that'll be good. But we're on Daiji Show right now. And I just want to show you guys, like, this causes no problems. You can go freely into here, go straight back to your apps. No problem. Task Manager works fine on the bottom. Well, it's freezing up a little bit, but Task Manager works fine on the bottom. No issues with that, closing out apps, navigating apps. It causes the problems on the Thor. But only if it's... I say unlucky, but it happened to me more often than not in my testing. But I guess we got lucky catching it on camera. Where it's working. I don't know why. Unscripted. This to show you guys, I don't have a bias against these guys. I'm just trying to show you what I've gotten anecdotally, like what has actually happened to me, what others have reported, and then, you know, I did have one person tell me that home apps will work on here, and here they go, they're working, so. But AYN said they're working on this. It should be fully fixed whenever they release their update. It's not out yet, so just to let you guys know with that. Okay, and next part to talk about. This one might be a little complicated. and may not be relevant to all of you, so don't worry about that. But this is going to be Syncthing specifically for AYN Devices versus Ayaneo Devices. So the thing with AYN Devices is they come in, and I don't want to call them rooted. I mean, I guess they are rooted. They have to be rooted, maybe. I guess that's what it is, but they're... What's interesting is both of these, so I tried a game called Limbus Company because my friends are playing that. It gives you a warning that says you can't play this with rooted devices. It comes up for the Thor and the Pocket DS, so both of them are rooted. You can't use them for anything that bans that, and they should technically have the permission, but like you would need to go in and actually do the rooting to go into the full rooting functionality on the Pocket DS. On the Thor, specifically for Syncthing, one of the really notorious systems that's difficult is PS2, and then I actually didn't do it here because my Eden was breaking up so much, but also for Switch, they're in an area of the file explorer that is so restrictive that you can't get there without root access, and then you're required to use Super User to maintain those. But if you'll look on here, the AYN, I'm sorry, is it not run conditions? It might be behavior. Yeah, behavior. So on the AYN, you actually don't need super user, and you don't need rooting. Like, you don't need to do any additional rooting to be able to sync up PS2 saves in that Android data folder. You might see it on there, data/xyz, etc., to get to your memory cards. So I can sync up perfectly fine to my PS2, to my other handhelds that I use around the house, to my, to each other. They can keep that going. But on the Thor, that is seamless. On the Pocket DS, I'll try and see if I can show you guys this. Whoops. Is it stuck? Uh-oh. That's not good. Oh, it's locked on the secondary. I'm sorry, guys. You need to lock home. Yeah, what the hell? Whoa, the top is like frozen. Okay, there it goes. I did all that talking and then this happened. What the heck? There we go. Okay, so we're back in, and at least we didn't need to fully restart. But with Syncthing on the Pocket DS, you are going to be blocked from accessing that menu. So if I can try to show you guys that real quick, I'll just do it real fast on my computer, try and share over the PS2 folder, and I'll just give you guys an example of what that's going to look like. So we share over to the Pocket DS, we save, and I do want to let you guys know this is, I know that this works this way for the GUI version as well as the web, so it's going to warn me, get rid of these real quick, sorry. Syncthing, so it's trying to share with me, let's accept that, and if we go into here, you're going to see Android Media blocked, can't go any further, you are restricted, so that's no good. That won't allow you to get that set up. So what you can do is discard that and say, okay, well, let me try and go to the web GUI, do from here, add, and then get it all set up. But I'm not going to waste you guys' time. That takes a long time to type out. But if you actually enter that into the correct directory for your mem cards folder, it is going to let you know, hey, this is blocked. You need full root access and super user. And that's something that just is universal with Ayaneo. You are going to need to root your device, and that's going to prevent you from getting updates. Especially with a newer one like this, I wouldn't want to cut off their updates. There's a lot of fixes that I'm sure they're going to be pushing out. So it is unfortunate, and it does prevent you from kind of seamlessly integrating the Pocket DS into like your home ecosystem compared to the Thor. But if Syncthing isn't really something that interests you, this isn't really a deal breaker. So just another thing I wanted to bring up there. Alright, next I wanted to talk about basically Artemis game streaming. So for games that are too difficult to run on something like the Gamehub, I know a lot of people are really excited about that. But if you're trying to play higher end games, this one for example, we got Expedition 33 here. Just wanted to talk about kind of the differences in the screen size, because I know a lot of people. This is my first time having a 7-inch handheld that's doing Artemis, as far as I remember. I think some of the other handhelds have bigger screens, like the Steam Deck maybe. But people are really adamant about like, hey, 7 inches is like the minimum you need for game streaming, things like this. And then when you play on the Thor, like I can kind of see where they're coming from here. You see how kind of tiny some of the text is, but like I would still say this is definitely playable. This is a lot better than when I tried playing this on like the Odin 2 Mini, which if I remember correctly was a 5.5 inches. So it definitely had... it got pretty tough, especially on darker games. I remember I was playing Dragon's Dogma 2 during work, and that game was, like, really, really tough to see, really, really tough to, like, fight on this. But, you know, for as control-wise, this is definitely doable, but visually, you know, if you have, if your eyes have difficulty, you may not want to be on a smaller device like the AYN Thor if you're planning to do a lot of streaming. But, like, still, I think the 6 inches for the screen is actually pretty good, though. Like, you'll see on here, we have a lot of good detail on the screen. Obviously, I'm not, like, technical guy, but you can see the text, you can, like, play the game, do all this fun stuff. Hopefully I can, like, aim well. This might be something tough, trying to keep it flat for you guys. You know, something... Kill these guys. Oh, right. I forgot they dodge. Well, you get the idea. But if you're playing on this thing, you know, it looks like that. And one of the fun things I found out is actually the Artemis lets you jump straight in and take over. And I think they can actually show at the same time. Oh, wow. I did not know that. That's kind of cool. Do they both have control? Whoa. Or does it swap over? Oh, I think one of them has to give up. Yeah, what? Okay, hang on. Let me get this one off of here. Yeah, okay. I think that'll be... That's how you have to do it. You have to tell one of them to get off of that. Hope I didn't mess it up too bad. Let's disconnect from there. Go back in. That should fix it. Let's see. Hopefully. There we go. Okay, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, as you can see on here, the Pocket DS screen size is a lot more doable for like playing these full-size PC games on Artemis game streaming. You're gonna have like a lot bigger proportion of the screen that's gonna be visible to you, especially if you have like trouble seeing. My eyes are fine, so I don't really mind the smaller one. But I know a lot of people have that kind of concern about playing games on the smaller screen if they're gonna do game streaming. Bam. Oh, he killed him a little too quick. And of course, the latency on both of these is great. Let's see if we can dodge it, though. Oh, I suck. But it's pretty doable. I streamed it the other day, and it was hilarious. I was getting my ass destroyed by one of the boss fights. I was actually streaming it. I was playing, not right next to my PC like I am right now, I was playing it in the next room over on the treadmill on this while streaming to Twitch. So, my internet was like pretty taxed, but Artemis was still, going great. I really, really like the solution. If your internet is like fast enough to be able to play Artemis, honestly, you could save yourself a lot of space and not be game hubbing all your stuff. But I also get where people are coming from with Gamehub. It's super cool that you can like save straight to your thing and go out and about and be able to play your Steam games and things like that, sync back up when you get home. But yeah, so that was just kind of to show off this section. Alright, we're in the bathroom. It's almost like I'm trying to summon Bloody Mary. Let's check the backlight bleed real quick. We're on a bleed test video. So that is my top panel. We'll try on the bottom now. Alright guys, and as you can see here, there is light bleed on the bottom screen. So do keep in mind that is something, if that bothers you, if you think that that's a really despicable thing that they allowed that defect to get into your model, I would advise against it. Me personally, backlight bleed hasn't really come into a factor for me, but this is something I want to be transparent about. Like, this is something that happens on here. So compared to your OLED panel, your LCD one does have backlight bleed. It may not be as severe on all devices. To be honest, I don't even know how bad this is. It looks kind of bad, but you don't notice it in normal operation, in my opinion. So yeah. Alright guys, and I just got back out of the bathroom, summoned the Pocket DS light bleed by saying it 3 times in the dark, and it turns out honestly, I think I should apologize. I don't want to be misleading, and so I'm going to leave both of those in there. This is a full daylight. Like, I have light coming in from my window. I don't have the light in the room turned on, but this is like, I have light in my room. This is still visible. That's actually pretty heavy. I can't remember what the other device I had that had a backlight bleed scandal was. This is pretty intense from what I understand. I'm not an expert. I still don't really find this bad when you're playing something. Like I genuinely haven't really noticed it like that. But when you put it like this is in light. This isn't even me in a dark room seeing that, so that is a little tough. But in fairness, Ayaneo did offer a full refund to anybody who basically said like, hey, this is a deal breaker for me. This is way beyond the pale. Like, why did you allow this? So if you purchased it or you're thinking of purchasing it, please keep this in mind. If it's something that bothers you, they probably will not compensate you if you complain about this. So I just want to let you guys know with that. Now this one, I'm not sure if I can replicate this. To be honest, this is also me just being fully transparent. I'm not like attacking Ayaneo or AYN or anything like that. There is the image retention issue that I want to bring up with you guys. To me, personally, I have not even noticed it. I want to say that like I'm not bashing one company or defending this one's actions or anything. I just want to tell you like my subjective experience. I have not noticed it when I'm playing. And I did see people say, hey, you have to do this and kind of force it and make it happen to notice and make it apparent. I don't want to... How should I put this? I'm not dodging it because I don't want to like allow myself to blame AYN or whatever. It's that I don't restart or turn off my devices very often, you know, because it's Android, we sleep mode. That's one of the best benefits of it. But basically the way you see it, from what I'm told, is you restart the device, and then it should burn this AYN logo into the screen for a pretty substantial amount of time. And it's more noticeable on a gray background. So I'm going to try and make that happen. Let's see if we can notice it. Oh, sorry, angry squirrel. Gray. Gray. Go. Full screen. I'll try and go flat too. Now I'm not too sure what to say about that. Like, I don't really see anything. And that's the thing. I don't want to call people liars and, like, act like it's not a concern, because if this is happening on some units, it may come up on yours, and I don't want you guys to walk into that. But at the same time, I do want to, be realistic. I don't know if I saw it, because, like, the AYN logo's here. I don't think I saw it. And then, come on, man. Show me something like that, I guess. Download. Sure. Let's save that real quick. Just in case, what I'll do is we'll have these set for both screens, and then I'll restart it one more time, just because I want to, I want to be totally fair here, realistic. Like, I'm not saying it's overblown. There are people with totally valid concerns about this, but like, I think they said, one person said it may be related to brightness range and then immediately going on to something gray. And I think I saw others say that it is okay, so like there's gray, and let's go to gallery, right? We have that. You guys tell me, do you see it? I'm not entirely sure I'm able to. Like, maybe do I have to turn it down after? Like, maybe I'm lucky. I might have won the lottery, or maybe my eyes are bad, or maybe I won the eye lottery and I'm able to like completely phase it out. Just something to keep in mind. If it comes up on your unit, I'm really sorry. Like, especially if it bothers you. People say it generally goes away after about 30 seconds. I'm not sure if it happens on mine, so I really couldn't tell you what its how irritating it is. But in my opinion, compared to what the light bleed on the Pocket DS was, that may be a little more severe. I do understand where people are coming from if that is like a deal breaker. Oh, that's funny. I did want to let you guys know this part is broken now. So this is from that earlier section. Due to me using Daijisho as a launcher, I now am not able to open Task Manager. Task Manager broke again. So that's kind of like that earlier section. It came back around. But yeah, so there's that. Okay, next here is the hinges. So these are something that, once again, this is me subjectively. It may be different for everybody's units. For me, there is just a tiny little gap in there. Not sure if that'll focus well. Maybe not, but you see that little part. It doesn't actually have play as far as I can tell, but it is like slightly visible of that metal in there. And what it is with the Thor hinge, I find it pretty comfortable. It's very easy to flip open. I really like that it has the multiple sections. Like this one, I never do this. I don't know how much you guys do this with your devices. I don't tend to do this unless, like, of course, for this on camera. This is never an angle that I like to use. I generally play like this. Sometimes play like this if I'm sitting like at the desk and I'm playing something that doesn't require a lot of like holding, This one feels very comfortable to me, very stable. It's very easy to like place it at different heights, except for that. Hope I didn't break something. Yeah, nothing broke. This is the only thing that kind of concerns me, the lack of like the stoppers and things. That does feel a little short-sighted. I think they could have done a little better with that. But ultimately, like it feels relatively safe. I think the height that the screen falls from is like not that bad. Oh, I guess there are the little stoppers. I'm sorry, they're like right here. They're not. It doesn't completely get rid of my fears, but they're there, I suppose. And they prevent you from smacking your controls and getting like dents on your buttons or your screen from the buttons and stuff. So I'm overall pretty satisfied with this. It seems like one that would last. I've only broken one hinge in my life, which was the Nintendo DS Lite, actually. So if you've done that and never any other hinge, you may feel comfortable with it like I do. Like my 3DS hinge is still fine. Both of my GBA SPs are still fine. The DS Lite, the other DS Lite we had as a kid that we lost, wasn't broken when we lost it. So it was just the one. And then like all my new hinge handhelds, Retro Pocket Original Flip, Flip 2, both Funky S, Retroid, Flip DS, none of those have ever broken on me, so I'm generally pretty like not too fearful of these. Mew Mini Flip and RG35XS SP, tongue twisters. Those are all good for me. They never broke either. So here's hoping, right? Here's hoping Thor will stay fine. On the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum with it, because like this one is. I'll give it one thing. I don't know if this is like a worrying thing or not. It's just very easy to open. Super easy to open. Super easy to get into place. It feels like a light action. This one, on the other hand, very heavy because it's all metal. You can see it locks itself into place a little earlier. I shouldn't say this is a lock. It holds itself in place a little earlier than the Thor does. Like I think from this height it would start to shut. Yeah, it would start to shut from that height. So from here it starts to hold. Very stable hinge, very maybe tight isn't the right word, but it feels like it is less loose than the Thor's. So they don't have as much play, but it is able to hold at these different angles. I'm not sure why you'd ever do this outside of just the fact that you don't want it to slam on your device, which is like, hey, that's totally fair. I do like that. But it doesn't have snapping positions until you get to the very end. That's something to keep in mind. You're not exactly getting those very specific angles that the Thor kind of ratchets into. You have to set them up yourself with the Pocket DS. So, but the thing with it is so not rigid. It's just so able to hold its position that you can set it wherever you want. Now the thing with this though, I'm not sure, once again, like I've never had hinges like break on me, so I'm not super concerned about it, but over time maybe this won't hold as well. You may find it like starting to lean back when you don't want it to, or lean inward if you have it above center of gravity like that. And then of course I don't do that. That's the only place it snaps to, and I really don't like that angle. So, you know, I'm gonna try and stick up here. And just subjectively, this probably won't be an issue for a lot of people, but I do feel kind of uncomfortable like moving this thing. You know what I mean? Like, especially from the furthest out, and then moving it up. I just like worry I'm gonna hear it snap again, and like hearing that snap sound is just concerning. But opening it, just because it's harder to open. But like maybe it's harder to open in a way that'll make you feel more secure about your, you know, opening it instead of breaking it. Kind of forces you like out of necessity to move it more slowly. So, you know, that's something there. And then just out of comparison to these two, something that you might see as like a more smooth action, this is just very nice, you know. Super smooth, no concerning sounds really, very usable and useful and noticeable hinge positions. And it just gets to Mew Mini Flip. You know, very nice hinge. I would say I'm also very confident with this one. I know a lot of people's original Mew Mini Flip, or wait no, Mew Flip hinge broke. Mine never did either, so I can't really say with that, but I like this thing more than the actual Mew Flip anyway, so I don't think I'm going to use that thing anymore to like cause it to break, if that makes sense. But yeah, hopefully that stuff, you know, makes sense for you guys. This section and the light bleed and image retention part are just so testy. Like I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I just want to address them because I would hate to catch somebody by surprise with that. But you know, people are always worried about this kind of stuff. I want to make sure that is conveyed. Thanks. Alright, now once again, extremely subjective section here. We're going to be talking about the comfort in the hands. So a lot of people have had concerns about, for example, holding this thing, trying to play games for long periods, reaching the D-pad, reaching the triggers. I will say trying to do something like this. Now I don't know what games this is going to come up for. D-pad plus like left trigger, I guess. That is a little weird. You know, I think for both of these handhelds, actually, it may come down to your hand size. You know, you might have to come to terms with just the reality with that. You may have bigger hands, you may have smaller hands. I think the Thor is pretty comfortable for people with, I don't actually know my hand size. I'd say like small to medium, I don't really know. But, like, I tend to not care for huge controllers and handhelds, but some people are like, I cannot use these unless I have it, and I totally get it, man. You got, like, bare mitts. But, like, this just kind of works for me. I think this is pretty great. I think there's another section I'll probably overlay on here where it was me doing like BlazBlue combos and stuff. Like, hey guys, thought it'd be funny to try and show basically some Thor attempt at doing Carl Unblockable. I know some people have concerns about the D-pad in terms of comfort and things like that. Not the greatest reach there, but the D-pad itself is honestly, in my opinion, really good. I can do, you know, fighting game combos down here while hitting up here. I can do, you know, full on just like playing games for extended periods. Never really tires me out. This has a very comfortable weight to it. You know, it definitely feels like plastic, but it doesn't feel like garbage. Like some devices where they're like total toys. Like this little guy. You know, he just feels like a little rattly piece of garbage. But like, you know, it's still fun to use. This one, it really feels like it can kind of take your punishment. You can mash on a game if you need to. You can do all that sort of stuff. Not super worried about it. I also really like the sticks on here compared to the Pocket DS sticks. They just feel a little more substantial, like a little bit better grip with them as far as like playing around and things like that. So it was nice. I played, like, I don't know what a good metric this is, but I played like several quests, Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, dual blades, you know, It did that extended period of time without really, my hands and my wrists weren't hurting. But then, ooh, that is so bright. I'm sorry. Let me turn that down. But then on the other hand, we have the Pocket DS. So this one has these grips on the back that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy, especially if you have larger hands. It's going to make it a little more comfortable for you to use. I will say the triggers definitely better on the Pocket DS. Bumpers are might be a little contentious. They're like, I want to say easy to use on both. They're like about the same size, it seems like. Maybe I'm wrong. They're about the same size, I think. It's just that the triggers are better on the Pocket DS. Could be wrong. But of course then you have the LCRC. That's real nice. Always great to have that. Now for these, just like subjectively, I don't like the flatter buttons and D-pad of the Pocket DS. It's fully usable, like absolutely usable, but just my preference is more towards how they did the Thor, especially for the D-pad, but the buttons on the Thor as well. And then the sticks, you know, they're tiny. You could probably replace them, I'm sure, if you're into that kind of thing. I'm sure people are going to be making like new ones that you can buy, new stick caps and things like that. But I do think I would prefer the Thor stick caps over these. Might be a little hard to tell, but they're a little bit bigger. And these ones, it feels kind of weird having such small ones inside of like a huge cavity like that. And these ones, I guess some people might not like that you're basically like smacking the edge with that, I think. But it does kind of give you a good idea of exactly how far you can travel the stick and like kind of maintain it. This one, it's like it's kind of floating in the air. I don't know if you kind of get what I mean with that. Like, it doesn't touch, so you technically have like more, I guess, like freedom of that, but the specific, I don't know. Somebody had to test that. I don't know the measurement on exactly how far you can move this versus this. They both work though. Like, I played 3D games on here and it's perfectly fine. I don't think it'll be like a deal breaker for me, but for people who want the actual hand comfort, I think the Pocket DS wins on that. Just like, gripping it, holding it a longer period. Oh, and that's the other thing. This does run cooler, so you're gonna get less heat on here than on here. But the thing with the Thor that I really like is you're not really going to notice the heat because it's not really concentrated on the back and like the hand areas. It's more on the front of the screen. That's actually where I notice most of the heat ending up. So that's not great if you're like playing a touch game. But if you're using like a stylus, that'll keep you completely unbothered there, which I think is nice. So it's just something to keep in mind. Yeah. Oh, right, and I'm going to do just a little bit of a showcase of some Gamehub. Gonna kind of do a little bit of a cop-out on this one, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. My Gamehub Lite broke on both of my devices. I know they put out a new update, and then I went to go try it in Pocket DS. It kind of messed up, and I couldn't get it working. And then I had a brief period where it wasn't working on here, and then I got it working again with regular Gamehub. It's kind of all over the place. I know a lot of people like it, and I'm so sorry about that. I mentioned I wanted to cover that. If you guys would like to see maybe more of an extended Gamehub showcase when I get things fixed up, I can try to do that. I don't have a lot of space because I am on the Pro model for this and the whatever the 256 was on here, so like I don't have a ton of wiggle room. But like I can totally try and like get games on there, delete them, show them off, and things like that. If you guys are interested, my Steam game tastes are maybe a little unconventional. Not as like a flex. You'd be like, oh, I'm such a cool hipster guy. Like nobody plays cool games like me. But just I want to be honest with you guys. But I guess I could bring kind of a cool perspective maybe to the Thor and Pocket DS Gamehub stuff, because I know a lot of people when they test them they're going for like AAA games or like a lot of the really common stuff. Me, I prefer usually smaller games. See if this will fix itself up. Oh, nice. Yeah, usually smaller games or things like that. Like maybe stuff people might not be exactly on the lookout for. so we could maybe get you guys some new things to try out if you're interested in what I like to play, or you could maybe see, maybe if you see something you might like, I could try that out on there. Yeah, we'll just do like a real quick, just to kind of show you. This is Gamehub ESCHATOS, and a fun thing I noticed with this one is it actually runs better than on my PC. But on my PC, to be fair, it is using the I have it on an external hard drive, so that's like kind of my fault. But like, this thing, the loading and the frame rate are really, really solid. So that's super cool, and I really like this game a lot. Shoot 'em ups are obviously always a great choice for your retro handheld. So great to see this one working better. Oh, I suck. Yeah, that's what happens when you play this behind the camera. Oh, what the fuck? It crashed. Well, that happens a lot. Or I should say that happens. Last time I tested that out when I was on Gamehub Lite, it did not crash. Now it crashed on regular Gamehub. But, yeah, I guess that just kind of comes with the territory. That's another reason why I prefer Artemis, though. But, yeah, that's a little awkward. I'll leave it in, though. Love to see that. Show you guys the truth. But, yeah, and I'll, because it's still broken on here, I'll try and fix it up later, maybe do it in a future video. If you guys prefer to see them separately or see them together, definitely let me know in a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys with that. I should say I know I'm going to do one for, like, DS and 3DS games as well, though. But yeah, alright. Oh, right, and the last thing that I forgot to mention, in the differences, obviously, the Thor has independent volume control. That's honestly a pretty big deal. Some people don't mind it because they don't multitask. I saw them say they don't really care for it, so that's fine. But the Pocket DS is just single volume, and you gotta cope with, like, maybe some apps turn off if you click away and some don't, and some you just gotta deal with both of them being extremely loud, and you'll have to do, like, in-app modification on the volume. But yeah, that's also in this thing. I like the dual screen matching OLED brightnesses as well. Pocket DS is the brightness the brightness and then but we got to do the top for the screenshots, and then the brightness, there it is, sorry, brightness, yeah, brightness. So these are a little tough to match up. Volume is for both, and then that, yeah, my bad, sorry, took me a second, I'm stupid. But yeah, you know, ultimately, you can use both of these, and you know what's great? If you got both of them, you got the world's most expensive LD player. Even though you could run all 4 Android games on one computer monitor, if you hate yourself and gamble and play gachas, you could do it on 2 extremely expensive handhelds and not have a Ferrari or whatever. All right, thanks.